The space around Targa Station looked like a graveyard of metal and fire. Commander Thesic stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the battle unfold through the viewing screen. His four eyes tracked every movement of enemy ships. The Vrex Dominion fleet hung in the darkness like a swarm of angry insects, their red hulls glowing against the black void. 47 years. That was how long this war had been going on. Thesic had been fighting for 20 of those years. He was tired. His scales had lost their shine. His crew looked exhausted, but they could not stop. The Kelmar sovereignty never surrendered. It was not in their blood. Enemy dreadnought charging weapons, his tactical officer called out. Her voice was calm, but Thesic could hear the fear underneath. They had lost 3 ships already today. Return fire. All forward batteries, Thesic ordered. His ship shuddered as the massive cannons fired. Blue energy beams cut across the empty space between the two fleets. Some hit their targets. Others missed and disappeared into the void. On the other side of the battlefield, War Master Krone was giving similar orders. His ship, the Pride of Vrex, was the largest in his fleet. Krone was old for his species. His green skin had turned almost gray with age. His mandibles clicked together as he thought. This battle was going nowhere, just like yesterday. Just like the day before. Just like 10,000 days before that. We should push forward, his second-in-command suggested. Break their left flank, Krone shook his head. We tried that last week. We lost 12 ships. The Kelmar are stubborn. They will not break easily. But neither would the Vrex, that was the problem. Both sides were too proud to surrender. Both sides had lost too much to walk away. So the killing continued, day after day, year after year. Between the two fleets, a small ship tried to stay hidden. It was a colony transport from the Yulani people. The Yulani were merchants and explorers. They did not fight wars. They just wanted to travel through this system to reach their new home on the other side. But they had arrived at the wrong time. Inside the Yulani ship, Captain Velm watched her shields drop to 30%. Then 25%. A stray shot from the Kelmar fleet had clipped their engines. Another blast from the Virex had damaged their navigation systems. Now they were stuck, floating in the middle of a war zone with 12,000 civilians on board. Send another distress signal, Velm said. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook. Broadcast on all frequencies. Captain, we have been sending signals for 2 hours, her communications officer said. Neither fleet is responding. Velm looked at the tactical display. The two alien fleets were locked in combat. Hundreds of ships on each side. Thousands of weapons firing. They were too busy trying to kill each other to notice one small transport ship. Or maybe they noticed and did not care. Send the signal again, Velm ordered. Someone has to hear us. On the Kelmar flagship, an alert blinked on a secondary screen. A distress call. Thesic glanced at it for a moment, then looked back at the battle. He could not help the Yulani. If he broke formation to rescue them, the Vrex would exploit the gap. More of his people would die. It was a terrible choice, but it was the only choice he had. Krone saw the same distress signal. He felt a moment of shame. The Vrex honored strength, but they also honored mercy. Leaving civilians to die was dishonorable. But if he moved his ships to help, the Kelmar would attack. His warriors would be exposed. He could not risk it, so both commanders did nothing. The battle continued. The Yulani ship drifted helplessly, its shields dropping lower with each passing minute. Then something changed. Commander? The Kelmar sensor officer called out. New contact. Unknown signature approaching from Sector 7. Thesic frowned. Identify it. Working on it, sir. A pause. Computer says it is coming from human space. Humans? Thesic almost laughed. The humans were the youngest species in the Galactic Council. They had only discovered faster-than-light travel 30 years ago. They were primitive, weak. They had never fought a real war. Not against other species, anyway. What would humans be doing here? Across the battlefield, Krone received the same information. He was equally confused. How many ships? Sensors detect 12 vessels, War Master. Small fleet. Probably a patrol group. Krone clicked his mandibles in amusement. 12 ships. The humans send 12 ships to a battle with 400. They are either very brave or very stupid. The human fleet came closer. Both alien commanders watched with curiosity. The 12 human ships moved in a tight formation. They were not particularly large, not particularly impressive. Their design was simple and functional. Nothing special. Then a message came through on all frequencies. A human voice. Female. Calm and clear. This is Admiral Sarah Kwan of the United Nations Space Command. We have detected a civilian vessel in distress. All military forces are ordered to cease fire immediately and allow humanitarian rescue operations. Thesick stared at the communication screen. Was this human serious? Order them to cease fire? Who did she think she was? Send a response, Thesick said. Tell the humans this is not their concern. They should leave before they get hurt. The message was sent. Crone sent a similar one from his side. Both commanders expected the humans to retreat. Any sensible species would, but the humans did not retreat. Admiral Kwan's voice came through again. This time there was steel in her tone. You have 30 seconds to power down your weapons and withdraw to a safe distance. This is your only warning. We will not ask again. Thesick laughed. Actually laughed out loud. His crew joined in. 30 seconds or what? What could 12 human ships do against 400 Kelmar and Vrex warships? Crone did not laugh. Something about the human admiral's voice made him uneasy. There was no fear in it, no hesitation. Just certainty. That worried him. But he did not stand down either. The 30 seconds began to count down. Both fleets continued their battle. Neither side took the human threat seriously. That was their first mistake. The Galactic Council had met humanity 30 years ago. It was supposed to be a historic moment. First contact with a new spacefaring species. The Council sent their best diplomats. They prepared grand welcomes. They expected to be impressed. They were not impressed. The humans arrived in crude ships that barely held together. Their faster-than-light drives were inefficient and noisy. Their weapons were primitive projectile systems. Their technology was centuries behind the rest of the galaxy. The Council welcomed them anyway, as they welcomed all new species. But privately, most members agreed that humanity would never be important. The Kelmar had ignored humans completely. The Virax had met them once at a trade conference and found them boring. Neither civilization saw humanity as a threat, or as potential allies. Humans were just there, in the background, irrelevant. Commander Thesick knew this history. Everyone did. So when the human fleet appeared, he did not worry. 12 primitive ships against his battle group. It was like a child challenging a warrior. Continue firing patterns, Thesick ordered. Ignore the humans unless they get in the way. On his tactical display, the 12 human ships moved into position. They placed themselves between the two fleets and the Yulani transport. Thesick shook his head. Brave, perhaps, but ultimately useless. War Master Crone watched the same display. His tactical officer gave him the analysis. The human ships are maintaining position. They are not arming weapons. They are just sitting there. Sitting there, Crone repeated. He did not understand human tactics. Then again, humans had no real military history with other species. They had fought each other in the past, before they joined the Council. Savage little wars on their home planet, but nothing that prepared them for real combat, not against civilizations that had been fighting for centuries. War Master, should we target them? His weapons officer asked. Crone considered it. No, we are not at war with humanity. If they are foolish enough to stay, that is their choice. But we will not shoot first. Continue engaging the Kelmar. Admiral Sarah Kwan stood on the bridge of the UNSC Indomitable. She was a small woman, barely 5.5 feet tall. Her black hair was tied back in a tight bun. Her uniform was crisp and clean. Her face showed no emotion. She had learned long ago that showing fear or anger was useless. Action was what mattered. Status of the Yulani ship? She asked. Shields at 18% and falling, Admiral, her tactical officer reported. They have maybe 10 minutes before shields fail completely. After that, any stray shot could breach their hull. Understood. Kwan looked at the countdown timer. 20 seconds had passed since her warning. 10 seconds left. Neither alien fleet had powered down weapons. Neither had withdrawn. She had expected this. Species that had been fighting for 47 years did not stop just because someone asked nicely. They needed a reason to stop. She was about to give them one. Captain Morrison, Kwan said, speaking to her second-in-command. Prepare to execute Protocol Nightfall. Morrison nodded. He was a tall man with gray hair and steady hands. He had served with Kwan for 15 years. He trusted her completely. All ships acknowledge. Ready on your command, Admiral. 5 seconds. Kwan said calmly. 4, 3, 2, 1, execute. On the Kelmar flagship, Thesic was about to order another volley when his sensors officer shouted, "Commander, the human fleet. Something is happening." Thesic looked at his screen. The 12 human ships were changing. No, not changing. Revealing. The sensor readings that showed 12 ships suddenly multiplied. 12 became 20, then 50, then 100, then more. "What is this?" Thesic demanded. "Sensor malfunction?" "No, sir. The readings are accurate. The human ships were using some kind of stealth technology. They were hiding their true numbers." Thesic felt a chill run down his spine. The display now showed the actual human fleet. 12 massive dreadnoughts, each larger than his flagship, 45 heavy cruisers, over 200 fighter craft, and 4 enormous carrier vessels that dwarfed anything in the Kelmar Navy. Across the battlefield, Crone was seeing the same thing. His mandibles locked together in shock. "How many ships?" "Over 300, War Master. And they are all armed." "Impossible," Crone breathed. "Humans do not have this kind of technology. They cannot hide entire fleets." "Apparently they can, sir." Both alien commanders stared at their screens. The human fleet that had seemed insignificant now dominated the battlefield. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was what happened next. Admiral Quan gave a simple order. "Fire." The human ships did not fire conventional weapons. No energy beams, no missiles, no projectiles. Instead, waves of invisible electromagnetic energy swept across the battlefield. It happened in seconds. The pulses were precisely calibrated. They passed through shields like they were not there. They did not damage hulls or life support systems. They did not harm any living beings. But every single weapon system on every single Kelmar and Vrek ship went dark. Commander Thesic watched in horror as his tactical display died. His weapons control panel shut down. His targeting computer stopped responding. Emergency lights came on as backup systems kicked in. Life support was fine. Engines were operational. Communications worked. But every weapon, every defensive system, every offensive capability was completely offline. "Report," Thesic shouted. "All weapon systems non-functional, Commander," his engineering officer said, panic in her voice. "It is like they just stopped existing. The power is there, but nothing responds. I have never seen anything like this." On the Pride of Rex, the same thing was happening. Crone slammed his fist on his command console. "Get weapons back online, now!" "We are trying, War Master. But everything is dead. It is not a power failure. The systems themselves have been disabled somehow." "This is not possible!" But it had happened. In exactly 4.7 seconds, 300 human ships had disabled over 400 alien warships from 2 different civilizations. Not a single shot had destroyed a ship. Not a single life had been lost. But both fleets were now completely helpless. They could move. They could breathe. They could communicate, but they could not fight. Admiral Quan's voice came through on all frequencies again. This time, every ship in both fleets heard her clearly. "This is Admiral Quan. Your weapons are offline. They will remain offline until we decide to restore them. Your war is over. We are now extracting the Yulani civilians. After that, we are going to have a conversation about what happens next. Any ship that attempts to interfere will be permanently disabled. Do you understand?" Thesic wanted to respond with anger, with defiance, with threats. But what good would it do? His fleet was helpless. The humans had done in seconds what neither the Kelmar nor the Vrex had managed in 47 years. They had ended the battle, without firing a single lethal shot. "Understood," Thesic said quietly. Across the void, Crone gave the same response. The human fleet moved forward. Smaller vessels broke formation and headed toward the Yulani transport. Thesic and Crone could only watch as the humans efficiently rescued every single civilian. 12,000 Yulani were evacuated in less than 15 minutes. The human rescue teams worked with precision and speed that impressed even the alien commanders. When the last Yulani was safe aboard a human medical ship, Admiral Quan sent one more message. "Stand by. We will be boarding your flagships shortly. Prepare to receive diplomatic envoys. This war is over. Now we discuss how we move forward." Thesic looked around his bridge. His crew stared back at him with uncertainty and fear. In 47 years of war, they had never been defeated so completely, so quickly, so effortlessly. The humans had been underestimated. That much was clear. The question now was what they planned to do with their power. and whether the Kelmar and Vrex would survive the answer. The human ships moved through the disabled fleets like sharks through still water. Commander Thesic watched them approach his flagship. He had ordered his crew to stand down. What else could he do? His weapons were dead. His shields were useless. The humans had demonstrated they could disable his entire fleet without breaking a sweat. Fighting now would be suicide. Prepared to receive boarders, Thesic said. The words tasted bitter in his mouth. No enemy had ever boarded a Kelmar flagship. Not in 500 years of warfare. Now humans were about to walk onto his bridge like they owned it. A small human shuttle attached to the docking port. Thesic walked down to the airlock himself. His honor guard stood beside him, but their weapons were powered down. Symbolic only. If the humans wanted to kill them, weapons would not help. The airlock opened. A human stepped through. Thesic had seen images of humans before, but never met one in person. This one was male, average height for his species, with dark skin and short black hair. He wore a simple gray uniform with minimal decorations. His eyes were calm and intelligent. He did not look like a conqueror. He looked like a teacher. Commander Thesic, the human said in perfect Kelmar language. I am Commander Marcus Chen of the UNSC Diplomatic Corps. May we speak in private? Thesic was surprised by the politeness, also by the language skills. You speak Kelmar? I studied your language for 3 years, Chen said with a slight smile. Your grammar is beautiful, though the 7/10 system took me a while to master. Shall we? Thesic led Chen to his private conference room. They sat across from each other at a metal table. Chen pulled out a small datapad but did not activate it yet. Instead, he just looked at Thesic for a moment. You are wondering why we did this, Chen said. It was not a question. Yes, Thesic admitted. Humans have no stake in our war. The Kelmar have never threatened you. Why interfere? Because we could not stand by and watch, Chen said simply. The Yulani ship had 12,000 civilians, including 3,000 children. They were going to die because 2 proud civilizations refused to stop shooting long enough to help them. That was unacceptable. So you disabled our entire fleet? That seems excessive for a rescue mission, Chen nodded. It was, but it was also necessary. If we had only disabled weapons temporarily, you would have powered them back up and continued fighting. This war needed to end, so we ended it. Thesic felt anger rise in his chest. You had no right. This conflict is 47 years old. You do not understand the history, the grievances, the honor at stake. You are right, Chen said calmly. I do not understand your specific grievances. But I understand war. Humanity fought wars for thousands of years. We nearly destroyed ourselves multiple times. Nuclear weapons, biological agents, chemical warfare. We brought our species to the edge of extinction 3 separate times before we finally learned. He activated his datapad and slid it across the table. Images appeared. Ruined cities, burned landscapes, mass graves. Thesic looked at the pictures and felt sick. The destruction was total, complete. This is Earth, Chen continued. My home planet. These images are from our final global war, almost 200 years ago. We call it the Unification War. 4 billion people died. 4 billion. Our population did not recover for a century. We came very close to ending our species because we were too proud to stop fighting. Thesic stared at the images. How did you survive? We made a choice, Chen said. After the Unification War ended, the survivors decided that war itself was the enemy. Not each other. Not our old grievances, war. So we dedicated ourselves to finding another way. We developed technology designed not to kill but to prevent killing. Non-lethal weapons. Electromagnetic pulse systems. Cyber warfare. Ways to win without destroying. Why? Thesic asked. In war, you destroy your enemy. That is how it works, Chen shook his head. No, that is how it worked. But it does not have to work that way. Commander, do you know why we developed electromagnetic pulse weapons? Thesic said nothing. Because we realized something important, Chen continued. The goal of war should not be to kill your enemy. It should be to make your enemy stop fighting. If we can disable their ability to harm us without killing them, then everyone gets to go home alive. The fight ends, but life continues. That is a better outcome for everyone. It is weakness, Thesic said, but his voice lacked conviction. Is it? Chen asked. Your fleet is disabled. You cannot fight, but you are alive. Your crew is alive. In a traditional battle, How many ships would you have lost today? How many of your people would be dead right now? Thesic did not answer. He knew the number. At least 15 ships, maybe more. Over 3,000 dead. That was the usual cost of a major engagement. We did not disable your fleet because we are weak, Chen said quietly. We did it because we are strong enough to choose mercy over massacre. That is true power, Commander. Not the ability to destroy, the ability to win without destroying. Meanwhile, on the Pride of Rex, a similar conversation was taking place. War Master Crone sat across from another human envoy. This one was female, tall and elegant, with dark skin and intelligent eyes. She had introduced herself as Dr. Amara Okonkwo, a specialist in conflict resolution. Your people have been fighting for 47 years, Okonkwo said. In that time, how many ships have you lost? Crone clicked his mandibles. Over 2,000 Rex vessels. Tens of thousands of warriors. And the Kelmar? Similar numbers. Perhaps more, Okonkwo nodded. And what have you gained? Crone bristled. Honor, territory, pride, have you? Okonkwo pulled out her own data pad. According to our analysis, both the Rex Dominion and Kelmar sovereignty are on the verge of economic collapse. Your war economy has consumed 60% of your gross domestic product for nearly 5 decades. Your civilian infrastructure is crumbling. Your population growth has stagnated. Your trade relationships have dissolved. War Master, you are not gaining anything. You are slowly destroying yourselves. Crone wanted to argue, but he could not. She was right. Every year the VREX economy weakened. Every year it became harder to build new ships, to train new warriors, to maintain what they had. The war was bleeding them dry. He knew it, his government knew it. But they could not stop. We cannot surrender, Crone said. It would be dishonorable. We are not asking you to surrender, Okonkwo said. We are asking you to stop. There is a difference. Surrender means admitting defeat. Stopping means choosing life over death. Choosing your people's future over your pride. The Kelmar will never agree. The Kelmar are having the same conversation right now. Okonkwo said. Commander Chen is explaining the same facts to Commander Thesic. Both of your civilizations are dying, not from losing the war, from fighting it. If you continue, in 20 years there will be no Rex Dominion, no Kelmar sovereignty, just ruins and memories. She leaned forward. We can help you, but only if you choose to stop. We will not force peace on you. We will not occupy your worlds or dictate your futures, but we will not allow this war to continue. Your weapons will remain disabled until you agree to negotiate. That is not a threat. It is a fact. Crone was silent for a long time. Finally, he asked the question that had been bothering him. Why do you care? This is not your war. These are not your people. What do humans gain from interfering? Okonkwo smiled sadly. Nothing. We gain nothing material. But War Master, humanity nearly destroyed itself. We know what it is like to stand on the edge of oblivion. We know the pain of losing millions to pointless war. We survived and we learned. And we decided that if we ever had the power to prevent others from making our mistakes, we would use it. Not for profit, not for conquest. Because it is the right thing to do, she stood up. You have a choice to make. You can cling to your pride and watch your civilization die slowly, or you can choose to live. Choose to find another way. The humans will guarantee your safety during negotiations. We will mediate fairly. We will help rebuild what has been broken. But we cannot make the choice for you. Only you can decide if the Rex people have a future. As the 2 human envoys left the alien flagships, Admiral Quan received their reports. Both commanders were considering the offers. Both were shaken. Both were beginning to understand. Quan looked at the disabled fleets floating in space. Hundreds of ships, thousands of lives. All of them now waiting to see what would happen next. She hoped they would choose wisely. Because humanity had shown them mercy once, they might not get a second chance. 3 days passed. Commander Thesic spent those days thinking, reviewing, analyzing. Commander Chen had left him with detailed reports about the human intervention. The data was thorough and impossible to argue with. Every fact had been checked. Every number verified. The truth was clear and brutal. The Kelmar sovereignty was dying. Not quickly, not dramatically, but steadily and inevitably. The war economy had consumed everything. Infrastructure was failing. The education system was producing soldiers instead of scientists. Innovation had stopped. All resources went to building ships that would be destroyed in battle. It was a cycle that could only end one way, Extinction. Thesic sat in his quarters and read reports from the human analysts. They had been watching the war for years, studying it, understanding it. They knew things about the Kelmar economy that even Thesic did not know. How had they gathered so much intelligence? How long had humans been preparing for this moment? The door chimed. "Enter," Thesic said. Commander Chen walked in, carrying a container of something hot. Steam rose from it. "I brought tea," Chen said. "Human tea, not Kelmar. I hope that is acceptable. I find that difficult conversations go better with tea." Despite himself, Thesic almost smiled. "Sit." Chen poured 2 cups. The liquid was dark and smelled strange. Thesic tried it. Bitter but not unpleasant. They sat in silence for a moment. "You have had time to think," Chen said. It was not a question. "Yes, I have read your reports. All of them. And..." Thesic set down his cup. "If your data is accurate, my civilization has perhaps 15 years before complete economic collapse. Maybe 20 if we stop the war immediately and focus all resources on reconstruction." "The data is accurate," Chen confirmed. "We had the Galactic Council's economic analysis team verify our work. They reached the same conclusions. The Vrex, similar timeline. Perhaps slightly better due to their mining colonies, but not by much. Both civilizations are in critical condition." Thesic felt something he had not felt in years. Fear. Real fear. Not of dying in battle. He had accepted that risk long ago. Fear of failing his people. Fear of being remembered as the commander who let the Kelmar die. "I cannot surrender," Thesic said quietly. "My government would never accept it. The people would never accept it. We are taught from birth that surrender is worse than death." Chen nodded. "We understand. That is why we are not asking for surrender. We are proposing something different. A mutual ceasefire. Not because either side lost. Because both sides choose to stop. You do not surrender to the Vrex, they do not surrender to you. You both acknowledge that continuing the war serves no one. The Vrex will never agree. War Master Crone is having the same conversation with Dr. Okonkwo right now," Chen said. "He is saying the same thing about the Kelmar. You are both trapped by the same fear, the same pride. But Commander, pride is worthless if you are dead. Honor means nothing if your civilization is extinct." Thesic knew Chen was right, but knowing and accepting were different things. "What exactly are you proposing?" Chen activated a holographic display. A map appeared showing the Kelmar and Vrex territories. A line divided them. A demilitarized zone. 2 light-years wide. Neither side can enter with military vessels. A joint peacekeeping force composed of humans and Yulani will patrol the zone. Any violation will result in immediate intervention. You would patrol our borders? Forever? Not forever. 10 years, maybe 15. Long enough for both civilizations to recover. Long enough for a new generation to grow up without war. Once your economies stabilize and your people learn to live without conflict, the peacekeeping force will withdraw. And if we refuse? Chen's expression did not change. Then your weapons remain disabled. Your fleets remain helpless. Eventually, pirates will notice, raiders, opportunists. Without weapons, you cannot defend yourselves. Your civilization will fall, just more quickly than our models predict. It was not a threat. It was simply fact. Thesic understood the difference. "What about reparations?" Thesic asked. "The Vrex owe us for damages, for attacks on our colonies, for 47 years of aggression. And the Vrex say the same about you," Chen replied. "Both sides have grievances. Both sides have losses. But reparations require someone to pay and someone to receive. That continues the cycle. Someone always feels cheated. Someone always wants revenge. We propose something different." The holographic display changed. Now it showed construction projects, space stations, trade routes, industrial facilities, joint reconstruction. Both civilizations work together to rebuild what was destroyed. Human economic assistance to jumpstart the process. Shared resources, shared benefits. Instead of taking from each other, you build together. Thesic stared at the display. It was a radical idea. Working with the Vrex? The enemy? The species they had hated for 2 generations? "My people will resist this," Thesic said. "Of course they will," Chen agreed. "Change is difficult. Especially change this significant. But Commander, what is the alternative? Continued war? Slow death? Or trying something new and possibly surviving?" Thesic was silent for a long time. Finally, he asked the question that had been bothering him since the humans arrived. Why are you really doing this? I have read your history. Humans fought terrible wars, nuclear weapons, millions dead. You survived and became stronger. Why not let us follow the same path? Why interfere? Chen's expression became serious. Sad even. Because we almost did not survive, Commander. Our final war killed 4 billion people. 4 billion. We came within hours of launching enough nuclear weapons to make Earth uninhabitable. If one more person had made one more bad decision, humanity would have ended. We survived by luck as much as wisdom. He leaned forward. After the war ended, the survivors asked themselves a question. If we had the power to prevent our past selves from making those mistakes, would we? The answer was yes. Absolutely yes. We cannot change our history, but we can prevent others from repeating it. That is why we developed non-lethal warfare technology. That is why we built a fleet capable of stopping wars without causing more death. That is why we are here. It is idealistic, Thesic said. Yes, Chen agreed. But idealism backed by overwhelming force becomes reality. We have the power to enforce peace. We have the technology to protect those who cannot protect themselves.
We have learned from our mistakes.
Now we use that knowledge to help others avoid the same fate. Another chime at the door. Thesic's communication officer entered. Commander, message from the Virex flagship. War Master Crone requests a secure channel. He wishes to speak with you directly. Thesic and Chen exchanged glances. This could be interesting, Chen said. The holographic display changed to show War Master Crone. The old Virex looked tired. His mandibles moved slowly. Commander Thesic, I hope this communication finds you well. Well enough, War Master. I assume the humans have spoken to you as well? They have. Dr. Okonkwo is very persuasive and very well informed. I have seen data about my own civilization that I did not know existed. As have I. A long pause. Then Crone said something Thesic never expected to hear. I am tired, Commander. I have fought this war for 30 years. I have seen thousands of my warriors die. I have given everything for the Dominion. And for what? So my grandchildren can continue the same fight? So the Virex can slowly fade into history? Thesic felt something strange. Understanding. Agreement. I know that feeling, War Master. The humans offer us a choice, Crone continued. Pride or survival? Honor or future? I have spent 3 days thinking about what honor truly means. Is it honorable to lead my people to extinction because I am too proud to stop fighting? No, Thesic said quietly. It is not. Another pause. Then Crone said words that would change history. I am willing to discuss ceasefire terms. If you are. Thesic looked at Commander Chen. The human gave a slight nod. Not pushing, not forcing, just acknowledging. I am willing, Thesic said. The two old warriors looked at each other across the communication link. Enemies for decades, responsible for thousands of deaths, and now possibly architects of peace. The humans have proposed a summit, Crone said. Neutral territory. Representatives from both sides. The Galactic Council as witnesses. Will you attend? Thesic took a deep breath. This was the moment. The decision that would define his legacy. Die fighting? Or live changing? I will attend, Thesic said. Crone clicked his mandibles in what might have been relief. Then perhaps there is hope after all. The communication ended. Chen stood up. That took courage, Commander. More courage than fighting. Changing is harder than continuing. Will it work? Thesic asked. Can peace actually last? I do not know, Chen admitted. But war was definitely not working. Peace is at least worth trying. He headed toward the door, then paused. One more thing, Commander. In 3 days, your weapon systems will be restored. We are returning your military capability as a gesture of good faith. We trust you will use it wisely. Thesic was shocked. You are returning our weapons? Before the peace talks? Chen smiled. Peace forced at gunpoint is not peace. It is occupation. We disabled your weapons to stop the killing. Now we return them to show we trust you to make the right choice. Besides, if you restart the war, we can disable them again. But I do not think you will. How can you be sure? Because you are not a fool, Commander. And neither is War Master Crone. You both see the truth now. You both understand what is at stake. That is enough, Chen left. Thesic sat alone in his quarters thinking about the future. For the first time in 20 years, he allowed himself to imagine a world without war. It was a strange thought, uncomfortable, but also hopeful. Perhaps the humans were right. Perhaps there was another way. 3 weeks later, Targa Station looked different. The battle damage had been repaired. New construction was everywhere. The station had been chosen as neutral ground for the Peace Summit. It belonged to the Galactic Council, so neither the Kelmar nor the Vrex could claim advantage. Hundreds of ships surrounded the station. Not warships this time, diplomatic vessels, medical transports, news crews from across the galaxy. Everyone wanted to witness what many thought was impossible. The Kelmar and Vrex were actually talking. Inside the main conference hall, Commander Thesic sat at a large circular table. Across from him sat War Master Crone. Between them were representatives from both governments, diplomats, economic advisors, military analysts. Behind them, observers from the Galactic Council watched carefully. And at the head of the table sat Admiral Sarah Kwan, flanked by Commander Chen and Dr. Okonkwo. The talks had been difficult. Both sides brought centuries of grievances. Both had lists of demands. Both wanted to be seen as the victim rather than the aggressor. The first week had been mostly shouting, accusations, threats to walk out. But the humans remained patient. They listened. They mediated. They kept both sides talking. Thesic had learned something surprising during those talks. War Master Crone was not the monster he had imagined. He was just a soldier, tired, worn down by decades of war, trying to do his duty, not so different from Thesic himself. The demilitarized zone is acceptable, Crone said, his mandibles clicking slowly. 2 light years is reasonable. But we require assurances that the Kelmar will not use this time to build up military forces. We could say the same about the Vrex. Thesic countered. How do we know you will not use the ceasefire to prepare for a larger offensive? Admiral Kwan raised her hand. Both commanders fell silent. She had that effect. When Kwan spoke, people listened. Gentlemen, we have addressed this concern already. Both civilizations will be limited to defensive forces only. No dreadnoughts. No assault carriers, no offensive weapon systems. Human inspectors will verify compliance on both sides. Any violation results in immediate intervention. And after 10 years? Asked a Kelmar diplomat. When the humans leave? What stops the war from starting again? Dr. Okonkwo stood up. She activated a holographic display showing economic projections. By that time, both civilizations will have rebuilt. Your economies will be stable. Your people will have known a decade of peace. And most importantly, you will be economically interdependent. The display changed to show trade routes. We are proposing joint economic zones, Kelmar mining expertise combined with Vrex manufacturing capability, shared research facilities, joint exploration missions. When your economies are intertwined, war becomes mutually destructive. You cannot attack each other without harming yourselves. You are trying to force us to become friends, Crone said. It was not quite an accusation. More like an observation. No, Commander Chen said. We are trying to give you a reason not to be enemies. You do not have to like each other. You do not have to forget the past. But you do have to share a future. The question is whether that future involves cooperation or extinction. A Vrex military advisor spoke up. What about our weapons? The humans disabled our entire fleet with technology we cannot counter. What stops you from doing the same to us again? What stops you from conquering us? It was a fair question. One that had been asked repeatedly. Admiral Kwan stood up. Nothing stops us. We have the capability. We could disable your fleets, occupy your worlds, and rule both civilizations if we wished. But we do not wish to. Humanity is not interested in empire. We are interested in survival. Not just our survival, everyone's survival. She walked around the table slowly, making eye contact with each delegate. In our darkest moment, when humanity nearly destroyed itself, we learned something important. Power without restraint is just destruction waiting to happen. We have tremendous power. We could use it to dominate, to conquer, to control. But that would make us tyrants. That would make us exactly what we fought against. So we choose restraint, Kwan continued. We choose to use our power to protect rather than dominate, to preserve rather than destroy. Is this idealistic? Yes. Is it naive? Perhaps. But it is also the only way we have found to live with ourselves. We cannot undo the billions of deaths from our own wars, but we can prevent future deaths. That is worth more than any empire. The room was quiet. Thesic looked around at the faces. Kelmar and Vrex delegates actually considering cooperation. It seemed impossible. Yet here they were, A young Kelmar economist spoke up. Admiral, may I ask a question? Of course. The economic assistance package you have proposed. The reconstruction funding. The technology transfers. This will cost humanity significant resources. What do you expect in return? Quan smiled. A better galaxy. That is all. We do not want territory. We do not want tribute. We do not want vassals. We want neighbors who are not constantly trying to kill each other. We want a galaxy where species solve problems through negotiation rather than warfare. That benefits everyone, including us. That is incredibly altruistic, the economist said skeptically. It is also incredibly practical, Commander Chen added. A peaceful galaxy is a prosperous galaxy. A prosperous galaxy means more trade, more innovation, more cooperation. Everyone benefits, including humans. We are not being selfless. We are being smart. The talks continued for another week. Details were hammered out. Treaties were drafted. Compromises were reached. It was not easy. Both sides had to give up things they wanted. Both sides had to accept things they disliked. But slowly, steadily, a framework for peace emerged. On the final day of the summit, the treaty was ready for signing. The ceremony was held in the main hall. Cameras from every major news network in the galaxy were present. This was history being made. Commander Thesic stood at the signing table holding a stylus. Beside him stood War Master Crone. They looked at each other for a long moment. Decades of war between them. Thousands of deaths. So much hatred and pain. But also possibly a new beginning. To peace, Thesic said quietly. To survival, Crone replied. They signed the treaty together. The room erupted in applause. The Kelmar and Vrex delegation stood up. Some were crying. Some were smiling. Some just looked relieved. The war was over. After 47 years, the killing had finally stopped. Admiral Quan watched from the side of the room. Commander Chen approached her. Think it will last? He asked. I do not know, Quan admitted, but we have given them a chance. The rest is up to them. 6 months later, the demilitarized zone was established. Human and Yulani ships patrolled the borders. Both the Kelmar and Vrex had begun dismantling their war fleets, converting warships to civilian use, redirecting military budgets to reconstruction. It was slow progress, but it was progress. On Targus Station, a new educational facility opened. The first joint Kelmar-Vrex University. Young people from both civilizations studied together, learned together, made friends. It was a small thing, but small things could grow into big changes. In the university library, a young Yulani woman sat reading. Her name was Velm Daughter. Her mother had been Captain Velm, commander of the colony ship that had been trapped in the crossfire 6 months ago. The ship that had started everything. Velm Daughter had been 12 years old then. Now she was beginning her studies in interspecies relations. A human professor approached her. Finding everything you need? Yes, thank you, Velm Daughter said. She looked up at the professor. Can I ask you something? Of course. Why did the humans really intervene? I have read the official reasons. Humanitarian rescue, conflict prevention. But there must be more to it. The professor sat down. She was an older woman with gray hair and kind eyes. You are perceptive. Yes, there is more to it. Humanity carries a burden. The burden of our own history. 4 billion dead in our final war. We survived but barely. That kind of trauma changes a species. So you help others to ease your guilt? Partly, the professor admitted. But also because we understand something that many species do not. War is a disease. It infects civilizations. It spreads. It consumes everything until there is nothing left. We are survivors of that disease. We have developed antibodies. Now we use that immunity to help others who are infected. That is a strange way to think about war, Velm Daughter said. Perhaps, but it works. Your people are alive because humans intervened. The Kelmar and Vrex are rebuilding instead of destroying. That is not perfect, but it is better than the alternative. Velm Daughter thought about this. She remembered the fear on her mother's face when their ship was trapped. She remembered thinking she was going to die. She remembered the human rescue teams arriving like guardian angels. Efficient, professional, kind. I want to do what you do, Velm Daughter said suddenly. I want to help prevent wars. I want to be someone who stops the killing before it starts. The professor smiled. Then you are in the right place. The galaxy needs more people who think like that. People who choose cooperation over conflict. That is how we build a better future. Elsewhere in the galaxy, in a bar on a neutral trading station, Commander Thesic and War Master Crone sat across from each other. Both had retired from military service. Both were now working on joint reconstruction projects. It was strange spending time with an old enemy, but it was also not as difficult as either had expected. To absent friends, Thesic said, raising his glass. He was thinking of the warriors who had died under his command. Thousands of them over the years. To absent friends, Crone echoed. He was thinking of his own dead warriors, the brothers and sisters who would never see this peace. They drank in silence for a moment. Do you think we did the right thing? Crone asked. Ending the war? Thesic considered the question. I think we did the only thing. The humans showed us that continuing the war was suicide. We chose life over pride. That took more courage than any battle. The humans are strange, Crone said. They have such power, but they use it so carefully. They could rule the galaxy. Instead, they just try to keep everyone from killing each other. Perhaps that is the greatest power of all, Thesic said, knowing when not to use your strength. Choosing mercy when you could choose destruction. The humans call it restraint. I think it might be wisdom. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars through the viewport. Out there, human ships patrolled the demilitarized zone, keeping watch. Keeping peace. Not through threats or domination, through presence and readiness, through the promise that if war started again, it would be stopped again. The strongest species in the galaxy was not the one that could destroy everything. It was the one that could stop destruction before it started. Humanity had proven that. And in doing so, they had changed the galaxy forever. The war was over. The peace was fragile, but it was real, and it was worth fighting for. That was the human way, and slowly others were learning it too.